Game Was One here. I wanted to take a minute to talk to you today about something that's been bothering me in video games for the past few months, maybe even as far back as a few years. The thing that's on my mind is this new trend in video game companies in making games that are free to play. The problem that I have with the free to play model is that for the most part, when you get one of these games, you're basically getting the bare minimum package when you get free to play. The game is designed in such a way that without spending money, your character is usually going to feel stale, to say the least. A good example is with a video game company called NCSoft and their hit MMO, Guild Wars 2. Now, for anyone that knows what it's like to play Guild Wars 2, they can clearly tell you that this game has been designed in such a way that you never really have to spend money, aside from the fact that if you don't, you'll have a very limited character roster. Your characters won't look as good as they would, so obviously a lot of impetus is placed on buying vanity items. And you also have items that just basically without those items you end up feeling burdened and cheated for space. What I'm saying is, for the most part, if you play Guild Wars 2, you're going to find out really quickly that with the things that come in your basic package, soon you're going to be wishing that you had more space in your inventory, more storage inventory, and more character slots. For the most part, I bought the deluxe edition. I think in the beginning that gave me 5 character slots. Sounds like a lot. When you then start playing though, you find out that 5 character slots isn't nearly enough. You need around 8 if you want to really enjoy the game and try out all the character types. But this isn't the biggest problem, albeit it is around $10 per character slot. The bigger problem is in inventory management. Let's take into account that you're a very average player that decides you're going to go out and you're going to collect a lot of loot. Loot is incredibly important in Guild Wars 2, namely because you have to use your crafting skills. If you do not use crafting, it's going to take you a lot longer to level up. Crafting is one of the most amazing ways to level up in that game that nearly everyone should be a crafter of some sort. The problem is that if you try to craft, you're going to learn that really soon your storage space in your vault is nowhere near enough. So right away you have to spend again $10 to double your space. That might not be enough. You could end up spending at least another $10. So the free-to-play game has already cost you $10 to $20 in storage space, as much as $30+ on character slots, and at that point you haven't even gotten into vanity items. In this game, vanity items are incredibly important. The reason I say so is because they seem to have found a perfect balance between a pure vanity item and a useful item in one. A good example of this would be these tools that they make. There are 3 types of tools necessary to do your crafting in Guild Wars 2. You're going to need a mine pick, you're going to need an axe, and you're going to need a sickle. These 3 tools will get you all of the things necessary to be a successful crafter in Guild Wars 2. The problem is, every few levels you run into a new tier requiring a new set of gathering tools. Your initial set will be really cheap. Those are copper. Eventually you move up to another set. I believe those are, what, iron? then your third tier, steel. I believe you then go to dark steel. Eventually you end up at something like mithril or something of that sort. Regardless, each tier, if you end up buying for level appropriate crafting, gathering it is, you're going to need 3 of each. The only way to avoid this problem, obviously, is to buy the more expensive crafting gathering tools and carry those instead. But this oftentimes at least has you carrying the top 3 and possibly another set, so not to waste the most money gathering low-level items. What they've done is they've given you the option to buy these cosmetic items that also are highly functional, such as a mining pick that has a nice little graphic displayed when you use it that looks like a volcanic eruption, but that mining pick was around $10. If you needed an axe, similarly, $10. And if you needed a sickle, again, $10. The problem, and something that I just could not imagine that they would have done, was that they decided that if you wanted to get these 3 items and you spend $30, they're only good on one of your characters. So of course you can imagine right away, if you have 8 characters and you need to spend $30 on each character to have these tools, you're going to spend what, $240 just on that type of item? That's not really the end of the line though when it comes to games that claim to be free to play that take advantage of this incredibly expensive pricing structure. One of the games that I'm enjoying the most right now is a game called Mech Warrior Online. Let me say, without a doubt, Mech Warrior Online has got to be my absolute favorite first-person shooter ever. And that's not saying that they haven't implemented alternative means of playing. They've just recently released a third-person perspective camera. So you now have a game that offers best of both worlds. Whatever you like, you get to play in that style. The problem is that they've taken the example given by NCSoft in Guild Wars 2 and just taken off running with it. You start the game with 4 character slots, or mech bays as they're called in Mech Warrior Online. That doesn't sound, too bad until you find out that the game has easily 30 plus mechs. Now, a majority of these mechs are available for purchase with in-game currency. But each time you decide you want to buy one of these mechs, you need another mech bay. So right off the bat, if you begin to decide I need to collect additional mechs, you're going to start spending real-world cash. Now, how much each of these mech bays cost is entirely up to you. If you decide you want to go with the cheapest package, which is around $7, you get somewhere around 1,200 points. Now, each mech bay costs 300 points. So that gives you 4 mech bays for $7. Is that right? 3, 6, 9, 12. Okay, so if you have that, okay, you now have 4 mech bays. The problem is the way they've designed the game, each time you buy a mech, if you want to upgrade that mech, you can get it to a certain tier. The tier 1 stats are up to you. You can upgrade it all day long. The problem is when you decide I need to get my tier 2 stats unlocked. At that point, the only way you're going to unlock tier 2 is if you buy 2 additional mechs of the exact same type. So right away, you now have to buy 3 mechs of each type in order to unlock tier 2 and tier 3 upgrades. Without doing this, you will always be stuck at tier 1. Obviously, for the most competitive people, this just doesn't work. Therefore, if you only have 4 character bays or 4 mech bays, you're going to be using 3 of them on one particular type mech. Obviously, this is not going to satisfy the majority of people. Now, you remember, there are at least 30 mechs in the game. Do some math. Try to imagine how much it's going to cost you to get that many bays to unlock those mechs. But then you have another layer of problem. They have a class of mech called the hero mech. Now obviously the hero mechs are based on the standard variants that you can buy with in-game currency. The problem, you can't buy these mechs at all with in-game currency. If you decide you want these type of mechs, the only way you're going to get them is spending real-world money. Now, these mechs vary greatly in price. For some, you can get these mechs as low around $10 a piece. But there are some mechs that require near or around $30 worth of the in-game currency used to unlock them. So now, again, you have to start to imagine, if there are multiple $30 mechs, and then there are multiple $10 mechs, and mechs that vary in between, how much money have you now spent on a free-to-play game? This really doesn't end the situation. They've recently also launched a new initiative or a package that they're calling Project Phoenix. Project Phoenix is being delivered in 4 tiers. The first tier costs $20, which gets you a hero-based light mech with 2 standard variants of that mech. For $20 more, you get a medium hero mech with both of its standard variants, with the additional mechs that come with a package below. $60, you now have the heavy mech with 2 standard variants of that hero mech and all of the mechs that come below. And finally, the last package, $80. With that, you get the hero mech, the 2 standard variants, and all the additional mechs. Thankfully, these mechs were actually given mech bays. If you do spend this amount of money to buy these mechs, you will get a mech bay, so you will be able to enjoy them without having to spend additional money. The problem is if you buy a hero mech without buying this type of package, the end price is not the $30 you may end up spending for that hero mech. You're still going to be required to have an open mech bay. Before long, you've spent well over $200 on a game that's free to play. Then they've recently announced an expansion to the Project Phoenix that gives you 2 additional hero mechs that are both medium class and 2 of the standard variants for each of those. That package comes in at $30. So yes, already it's just one package of all the Project Phoenix mechs, and you're already spending $110 for the one package. How does this benefit the player in any way? You know, the thing that bothers me about these deals is literally the fact that the day that these companies decide they're no longer able to keep these games open, they may decide, well, we're going to shut down the server. Now, if you've just played or paid over $200 for mechs, can you imagine the disappointment that you're going to feel when they shut down the service and you're no longer able to access all of your favorite mechs? Basically, you won't be able to access any mech whatsoever. The simple fact is, we have no idea how long this game is going to remain popular. Now, I do understand it is MechWarrior. It has a tremendous chance of great success. But all games eventually get stale and get old. And when that day comes, you may be one of the users that finds yourself in the place of having spent a large amount of money and no way to recoup costs on selling a traded disc. You won't even be able to access it yourself. This trend in free-to-play is starting to worry me. I see more and more games being announced daily that use this model, and it really is a bother. I know that I recently saw the new Ridge Racer. It is going to free-to-play now, and there are several others that are following this trend. How is it that these companies are able to get away with this type of profiteering? Now, I understand that they claim that these games don't require any money spent whatsoever, but they do understand the human tendency to buy these convenience items that allow you to level up faster. They sell you vanity items so that you can look cool when you play in your match. So they know people are going to pay money. The problem I have is when that money surpasses the traditional $60 point to which you would normally own the game in all of its content minus any additional DLC coming afterwards. With these free-to-play games, you don't own anything. You do have the things that you paid for, but only till they decide to take the game away. Is this not becoming a problem for fans out there? Does this not seem to be a way for them to constantly squeeze a little more money out of you? Because they do understand that the minute that fans start to walk away, they're going to be able to say, well, this is no longer profitable. We're going to walk away from this endeavor. And the fans that are still playing are going to be forced either to throw more money at the system to allow it to remain open, or they're going to take a complete loss for everything they've ever done. This is a problem. I would really appreciate it if gamers would give their opinions on this video and explain, do you support the free-to-play model simply to be able to play a game initially to try it out without any fear, any money spent in the advance? Or do you think it's a safer bet if the games were forced to use a sale model similar to those that have been in the past, where the people pay $60 and the game is actually theirs to own, and any additional stuff comes in the form of DLC? Because if things do continue in this way, we may see in the future almost all video games going to this format, and it might not be appropriate for most players. They've just recently announced the new Wii U game that's based on Wii Sports, I believe, from the original Wii, where each category of sport is going to be $10. Now, this may be fine if those sports remain low in number, but if they incorporate the original and then the newer model, the second version of Wii Sports, how much money are we talking about? Could we spend $100 on Wii Sports knowing that it has no real end game? It's just more or less a glorified tech demo? Would you be willing to pay that type of money for something like that simply because the companies are deciding to go free to play, which seems on my mind to never be free? Let me know in your comments below. And again, if you do like our videos, please leave a comment, subscribe. We appreciate your time. Thanks. This is GameWiz1 going out from GameWiz TV. Thank you.